Hey guys, it's Kim, aka Spartan Stitcher on Instagram, and I am here with another cross-stitching video, but this is not my normal cross-stitching update. This is a Flosstube Extra about setting goals to hopefully, I'll tell you how I set my goals for the year on my pieces, and hopefully that might help you set your goals, whether you've tried it before and aren't happy with it, or whether you want to try it for the first time. Now, if you are one of the types of people that have never really tracked what you've achieved each month, year, day in your stitching, and you're just kind of, this is my hobby, I want to enjoy it, I don't want to track or think about it too much, I want to stitch what I want when I want, that's fine. I just encourage you to watch my video, listen to what I have to say, and consider it based on what I'm going to tell you about goal setting. And if you want to do your own thing, that's doesn't hurt my feelings. Okay, just I'm presenting information out there in hopes that it might help somebody, because I have had some requests on goal setting, both on my Instagram and videos and in Full Coverage Fanatics. So I will be talking mostly after when I give my personal examples, I will be talking mostly about full coverage, but I will cover some non-full coverage aspects to setting goals as well. So pull out your stitching and get a beverage, and let's talk about goal setting. So if you do a internet search for goal setting, just basic goal setting, no matter if it's your work career or personal goals like getting fit or whatever, this is what you're going to run into, is the acronym SMART. Which is specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. These are all 5 aspects you should take into consideration when you're setting your goals to help you make realistic goals that you can then actually reach. Okay, so specific. You want to make specific goals, because if you don't have direction, then you're never going to reach your goals. So you have to make a specific goal, and just don't be vague about it. Like, I want to do more. I want to go to the gym more. Well, okay. That takes you into measurable. If you don't make it measurable, then you won't know when you reach that goal or when to celebrate. I want to get so and so many page finishes done, or I want to be able to jog a mile. So whatever you're setting a goal for, or I want that next job promotion, that's a measurable goal. Or I want that next job promotion in the next 5 years, that's even more measurable goal. Attainable, it's got to be something that you can actually reach. Otherwise, you will get demoralized and you will lose confidence in yourself. Relevant, obviously, if you're trying to reach these goals, you should be talking about things that help you to reach those goals. Not something that's totally talking about a different topic. Okay, and time bound, because setting a deadline gives you focus and a sense of urgency. So these are all things that you should consider when you're setting goals, no matter what kind of goals you're setting, whether it's work, personal life, hobby, doesn't matter. You should be using these 5 aspects to help you make SMART goals. Ha, pun. Okay, so why should you set goals, especially for our hobby? Because reaching a goal develops self-esteem, self-regard. It improves your mood when you actually reach that goal. It gives you energy and inspires you to keep going. Let's say you're trying to get fit. Well, if you set a goal of, I want to be able to jog a 10-minute mile in 3 months. I'm just throwing numbers out there. Okay, that is definitely measurable and time-bound and specific. So once you reach that goal, you feel damn good about yourself, don't you? So taking that into cross-stitching, same stuff. Even if you're doing it as a hobby, setting those goals and reaching them will make you feel really good about yourself. Now, how to make those goals. Let's say you've never set goals for yourself. You're not a nerd like me, and you don't track everything that you're achieving in your stitching. You don't track your number of stitches, your number of days. You haven't tracked anything. You're not in stitching groups, but you want to start. Okay, so you may not be able to set realistic goals the very first year if you don't have the historical information to go off. But don't just turn off my video and think that's it, I can't do it. If you've never done it before, here are the types of things you need to collect. Start collecting. Starting now, you can start now in order to be able to set realistic goals in the future. So, even if you've tracked a little bit of information that you can get off your Instagram or off any Facebook posts that you've made, pictures that you have on your phone, here's the things that you're looking for. Anything that you can collect to show what you've done in the past in what specific time period will help you to create those realistic goals in the future that we talked about. So if you know the number of stitches that you've done in it, even how many you can do in a day, how many in a week, how many on one specific whip in a time period, any information that you can gather and put together that will help you. Number of pages you did in a year or a month, how much percentage increase if you're using Pattern Keeper on your full coverage pieces. Maybe you track your percentage instead of pages. That's fine. The number of days that you've worked on a piece in a month or in a year, that'll help you. If you have none of that like numerical information, can you look at those pictures? Do you have comparison pictures like between years or months? And you can determine from there what kind of progress you made. How many colors, if you do extreme cross country, how many colors you got done in a certain amount of time. If you stitch diagonally, whether it's pages diagonally or you stitch like a 10 stitch block diagonally, how many diagonals did you do in a certain amount of time? Collect any information you can get done. If you stitch 10 by 10 blocks on your full coverage, whether it's in rows or columns, how many of those did you get done? Go back and collect all that information to help you set those realistic goals for the future. Other information you need to collect before you can start to think about your goals. What significant events happened in the past? What significant events are going to happen in the future for the time period that you're setting that goal? And this is not just in your stitching, but so in your stitching world, what challenge groups did you participate in? What Instagram hashtag events did you participate in? Did you do a bunch of new starts, or you didn't do any starts and now you're going to do a bunch of new starts, or vice versa? There's some people doing no new starts 2021. Did you do mystery sales that took up some of your time each month? Or are you planning to do sales in the future? And then you also have to look at your real life. What's your job like? How has it changed with the pandemic? Do you have more stitching time, less stitching time? Kids, are you about to have a baby? Or are your babies about to start school so you have more time to yourself? Are you going to start a new job? Are you going to move soon? Or move in the next year that you're setting your goals? All those kinds of real life things that contribute into your hobby time. Then you have to look at your current progress on your whips from however many years or months or however, when you're collecting your historical information, however long ago you can look at and compare that information. Are you happy with your progress for that amount of time? Do you want more or do you want less? Which whips do you want to prioritize? Do you want to prioritize your oldest whips, your closest to a finish, your smallest, or maybe your oldest from a particular designer? If you have several whips from a certain designer, whether it's a Mirabilia or a Haid or chatelaine, and you just want to focus on one from each designer, that's another way you can divide and prioritize your whips. Because the more whips you try to set goals for, the less realistic they're going to be, because it's just going to be too much. I had 19 whips at the start of 2020. 11 of them were full coverage, which were my priority. I wouldn't really say that they're my priority. They're historically what I set goals on first. This is the first year that I set goals on all of my non-full coverage as well. And there's some of my non-full coverage that I'm not meeting my goals. And that's because I tried to set 19 different goals for the year. Now, some of those, the priority ones, I made, or I'm going to make. In the lower priority ones, I just wanted to have something to shoot for. So there's no shame in not meeting a goal. And goals are always, it's not like carved into stone, okay? You can change them up, which we'll talk about. So the more WIPs you have and are trying to set a goal for, the harder it is to set realistic goals. How are you going to achieve those goals? So before you even set your goals, you got to think about how you're going to achieve them, what you're going to be doing in that time period that you're setting that goal for, whether it's all of 2021 and you're setting those goals, or you're looking further out, 5-year goals, 10-year goals. In terms of cross-stitching, what kind of rotation are you going to work on? If you want to finish a piece in 2021, okay, then you have to think, am I going to work on that piece a little bit each month to try to reach that goal? Am I going to try to do like a certain number of days or a certain number of stitches per month? Or if it's a non-full coverage piece, a certain number of motifs, if it's like a sampler type, or if it's an Etsy design that has different parts to it. You can think about how you can divide that larger goal into smaller chunks throughout your year or your time period to make that goal more achievable. And then the other thing you could think about, I haven't done it yet, but you could set multiple goals on the same WIPs. So let's say you have 5 top WIPs that you're prioritizing. You can set a minimum goal for the year for all of them. And then if you meet that minimum goal, you can set a stretch goal. Like, okay, I'm going to shoot for this. And if I get that done, then I'm going to shoot for even further. This is a good idea if you've never set goals before and you really have no idea. Prior to this year, I never tracked how many stitches I did on my full coverage pieces. I only tracked page finishes. So we did that, the National Parks Challenge and Full Coverage Fanatics, and I had no idea. I thought 100,000 stitches, that's going to be really hard to reach. Well, here I am in November, and I've already done over 120,000 stitches. So if you don't have that information, that historical information to go off of, consider setting a minimum goal and a stretch goal, so that as the year goes by, or as the time period, however long it is, goes by, you can revisit your goals and change them a little bit, or it can help you if you're one of those people that uses Tiny Decisions app, or has someone else in their family pick their WIP for them because you don't know what to work on. These goals can help you determine what to work on next. And then write down your goals. So as you're going through this process and you're collecting your information and you're throwing out, you're brainstorming on paper or in an Excel sheet or Mac numbers, write things down, work it out, because it's easy to forget different things as you're going through your head. It doesn't hurt to write things down and write down different ideas, and you can run through them in your head and say, I don't think that one's going to quite work. Let me try something else. Okay, so write down your goals, and once you have them set, put them somewhere safe, in your planner, in your journal. If you have a stitching journal of any sort, like again, it doesn't have to be paper, it could be electronic. Save it on your phone somewhere. Take a picture of it and post it on Instagram to say, okay guys, talking to all your followers, you got to hold me accountable to these goals. And at the end of the year, come December 30th, 31st time for 2020, I'm going to be reminding folks in Full Coverage Fanatics to take pictures of all their WIPs, write down your stitch count if you're using Pattern Keeper, or write down how many pages you have done. Write it down, annotate somewhere where you're at. If you're not a floss tuber and you don't feel like doing an end of year whip parade, that's fine. Take a video or take a series of pictures and keep it for yourself. There's nothing saying you have to publish a video that you take. You can keep, it's just a way to document your progress and start collecting that historical information. So even if you can't set realistic goals for the next year, you have started collecting that data to allow you to set those goals in the future. So, all right. A couple days ago, I spent time looking at my historical information to determine what my goals should be for 2021 and even beyond then. So most of my full coverage was started in 2017 or afterwards. And starting in 2018, I thought, wouldn't it be great if I could, since I have so many full coverage pieces, if I could finish one full coverage piece a year, at least shoot for that, so I can, always have something finishing, hopefully to whip down, but of course you always have those new starts in there, so I haven't really whipped down. But in 2018, I said, okay, I'm going to do this, and of course it's easiest to start with your smallest whips, get them done. So I did that, and I keep moving up, and I'm moving up in size, and I'm getting things done. Well, that means now it's harder to meet that personal goal of mine to always get a full coverage finish each year. In 2018, I finished a story keep and a quick stitch for Hade. In 2019, I finished a rather small regular size chart, which is Moonhair. And I also finished my oldest whip, which was a Teresa Wensler Camelot sampler. That was my non-full coverage big finish. And I also finished that Lavender Lace Guardian Angel. So those were when I set my goals in 2019, I know those were the 3 that I wanted to finish. And then I set page finish goals on the other ones. That's about as specific as I got. And then I knew last year when I was setting goals for this year that I wanted to finish Macintosh Mill. That was my next smallest full coverage piece to try to finish. So I set, and I was like, okay, I'm going to work on that for the 20 and 20 challenge and Full Coverage Fanatics to force me to work on it a little bit every single month. And I got it done. Okay, so what's next, right? Well, you look at all the pages that I did in the previous years. And like I said, you got to look at your significant events that happened each year and how those significant events are changing to be able to help you make those attainable goals in the future years. So I have this on an Excel sheet, and it's 2 pages because I went crazy and I went out to 2030. But just to give you an idea, and it's not perfectly clear because my printer didn't print perfectly clear. You'll see some of the pieces over here that I have finished already. The orange annotates finishes, and then of course it's grayed out after that because I can't possibly work on it anymore. Total number of full coverage pages is here, and then what I'm shooting for in other annotations to myself, those significant events that happened each year to help me in the future. 2018 was the first time that I did a 100 Days of Hade challenge with Portia of Stitch Talk, and that was on Friends Forever, which enabled me. I got 3 pages and a partial done in 100 days because I worked on it a little bit every single day. In 2019, that was the first year of School of Magical Stitches where we were at Hogwarts. So with that, I was a Ravenclaw grading prefect, which meant I spent a lot of my, what normally would have been stitching time, grading a ton of stuff and helping people in the Ravenclaw common room. Also, that meant a lot of smaller starts and finishes for me to do the homework, to do the extra credit. So things that, like I said, the more whips you have, the harder it is to reach your goals. And if you have those new starts, that's taken away your stitching time from your goals. So something to keep in mind as you're trying to set your goals. 2019 was also the first year that I did my version of Mania, which is Page Finish Mania. So I got a lot. I mean, I wasn't working on anything else except full coverage getting those pages done that were close to done. And also in Full Coverage Fanatics, we did the 90-day challenge, which again, like the 100-day that I did on Friends Forever, I was working on full coverage a little bit every day, every single day, except for the last quarter when I did my own personal challenge, or the third quarter. So I did 90 days on Moon Hair, and I got that done. 90 days on Oh Baby. Again, I was setting myself up for future finishes, so that's why I did on Oh Baby. And I did 90 days on Trick or Treat at the end of the year, and then my personal challenge of 90 days on Camelot to get me that finish on Camelot Sampler by Teresa Wensler. Significant events for 2020. Well, I knew my husband was going to be deployed. He was only supposed to be deployed through the end of April, but it got extended, so he got home the end of June. So it was an 8-month deployment because he left the previous year. So that has an effect on my stitching because I was a single parent. And then I also did another page finish mania. And my youngest daughter started kindergarten this year, which means, yes, I'm still a stay-at-home mom. But I now have school-age children. So that affects my stitching time. And also, I didn't participate as heavily in magical stitches this year. I focused on my personal goals, and I used those stitches towards the team building events in magical stitches. So that meant more time because I wasn't doing those 100, 200, 300 homework assignments on non-full coverage new starts and things. So that's why the last 2 years I had 16 full pages and partials, and I jumped up to 25. I think if I get everything achieved, it'll actually be 26. What I actually achieved this year, plus the partials. So that's what enables me, and these notes help me understand why these numbers are going up. Now, next year I'm not planning any mystery sales. This year I have done the Familiar Sal by Ingleside Imaginarium and the 52 Weeks of Blackwork Sal by Peppermint Purple. Well, I've already spent 27 days stitching on the Familiar Sal, and then I think it's either 13 or 16 days on the Blackwork, but those aren't full days. Those are just a portion of days. So 27 days, I'll probably add on 2 more for the last Familiar. That's a full month that I could spend on other pieces, whether it's full coverage or non-full coverage, because I don't plan on mystery sales. So I'm looking at my current whips, and that's more days into the pot of stitching time, if you will. So those are things that are important to annotate and know when you're creating your goals. So because of no mystery sales, that's why for 2021 I am increasing from 25 full pages and 2 partials to, 29 and 6 partials. So this is here in yellow, this is a total of everything in that column. So as I'm playing around and seeing what I can finish, I'm constantly updating these numbers as I was setting my goals to see whether I was staying in the range that I historically know I can handle. So I have historically handled this year, I'm going to call it 25 because I don't have those last pages done yet. So I know that I need to stay around that number because the only thing that's changing next year is no mystery sales. So, in my events that I'm participating in next year, I have the 21 and 21 challenge. So I did the 20 and 20 on Macintosh Mill. That got me a finish this year. Well, next year I'm going to do the 21 and 21 on my next smallest full coverage that's closest to a finish, which is Oh Baby. This is an out-of-print retired chart by Haid, Gail Gash Taylor. So I have 5 full pages and partials to do on that one. So, and what I did is, as I was setting these goals, I have images of all my full coverage pieces, and you can do this for non-full coverage too, just looking at the model design and looking at how much you have done, which is what I have grayed out. and looking at how much is left. And like if you load this into Mac numbers or Paint if you're on a PC, and you can draw all over it, whether it's full coverage or not. So full coverage, you can add the grid. So if you're Jessie Marie made a video tutorial, I will link below if you're using a Mac, on how to create the grid on your full coverage pieces. And I created a, I believe it's an MS Word tutorial. It's uploaded in the group files of Full Coverage Fanatics on how to create the grid if you're using a PC using the Paint program. So I will link Jessie's video below, and you have to go in Full Coverage Fanatics to get the Paint tutorial. So I was playing around with these. I had my Excel sheet. I had all my images with the grid on there, and I was counting out pages and figuring out, okay, if this year, if I do 4 pages, and the next year I do 3 pages, and then 4 pages, and then 3 pages, and I was figuring out how long between all my whips in the priority that I had set to get them done. How long it took to get me done for those pages, keeping in mind my significant events and how they change. Big Red Ship is one of my non-full coverage that I included in here because I do have it on a deadline. That one I know, when we got here in North Dakota, I knew that I wanted to have a non-full coverage piece to represent our time here that was started after we got here and finished right before we left. So I knew I had roughly 4 years to get that done. It's 16 pages. So I knew that was 4 pages a year, so 1 page every 3 months. And I have found out through experience that it takes me about three days of stitching per month to get me that page finish every 3 months. So I have that taken into account on my Excel sheet, 4 pages each year, and here it is as a finish in 2022. And then down here I have as a note, no more ship. So all through here, I started at 2019, so these 4 years I've been spending 3 days a month on Big Red Ship, roughly 2 to 3 days a month, to get those 4 pages each year. So that's why my pages go up from 28 to 30, because I have no more ship to do this year. I've got, what is that, 24 to 36 extra days to work on Big Red Ship. So I was able to adjust my pot of days and how much time I had to spend on my full coverage pieces. So I have it planned out, as you can see. So that's Macintosh Mill. There's Oh Baby. I'm thinking in 2022 I can finish a summer ball, which I have, after I finish the page of this year, I'll have 3 pages left. Big Red Ship is on there, and then Beauty and the Beast. So I have this all planned out. Of course, as I finish pieces, I've got fewer projects left to use for those 30 pages or so. So I can do more pages on here. But again, this is a long ways out, and you're not taking into consideration any new starts. So this is a living document. It's something I can refer to month after month as I'm planning my events that I'm participating in. In Full Coverage Fanatics next year, we have not only the bookshelf challenge, which is you can use the theme if you're non-counting, or you can count the pages, but we also have different events like bingo and Wheel of Fortune, like we're doing now. We have history sprints and other things. So I don't know what I'm going to be working on for all of those yet. But as I reach each event, I'm going to be referring to my tracking. How much do I have done? How much do I have left to get to my goal for the year? On that piece. So this is a living document that you can always change. It's not written in stone. And like those pieces in 2020, those non-full coverage pieces, I don't have them listed here that I haven't met the goal on. Then I can either take the stress off myself and say, You know, I can't have a goal on every piece because it's obvious I'm not going to reach it. Or I can set a, gee, I'm going to try for this, but it's not my priority type goal. Or if those non-full coverage pieces become priority, I can set that goal and put that time into it. So it's something that I continuously return to as I'm setting my plans for the year, and as I'm setting my goals, and as the year progresses, I go back and I revisit. And let's say that we're taking a talk about the Around the World Challenge and Full Coverage Fanatics this year. I have on my Excel sheet a list of my full coverage whips, and a column for each month with the country that we're visiting for each month, and I put an X in the cells of the countries that could be used for that month. And throughout this year, my plans have changed. What I have done so far has changed. So the pieces I work on for the end of the year for Around the World has changed, and I've used that information to say, okay, I had I think it was Sunday Delight in the box for December Around the World for the USA because Randall Spangler is an American, but I've already reached my goal on that one. So I'm going to switch it out, and I look at the other full coverage whips that and I listed in the notes for the cells how they can be used for visiting that country. And I haven't reached my goal yet on Kindred Spirits by Jody Bergsma. She's an American. So I am going to sub in Kindred Spirits for December to visit the United States for Around the World instead of Sunday Delight. So that's how you can use your tracking information to make your participation in events match your personal goals. So I hope that helps everyone. If that was confusing at all, feel free to ask me questions, and we'll see you guys tomorrow with my regular video. Bye.